It's showtime.
It's the pre-party with J. Cal.
We are professional wrestling.
I'm building an alliance.
You are tuned into
the absolute top of the mountain, the ultimate professional wrestling.
Alliance-wrestling.com.
Oh man. Hey guys, welcome. Uh-oh. What's going on? Okay, welcome to the pre-party. It's your boy J. Cal. Woo! We did it. We got here. Unbelievably, we're here. We're here. Guys, welcome to the pre-party. This is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal. If you're new to the channel, first of all, thanks for subscribing, for checking us out, for giving us an opportunity to talk NWA with you. And we don't just talk NWA here, we also talk about the United Wrestling Network, and we talk about the wrestling promotions that are associated with both the United Wrestling Network and the National Wrestling Alliance. That means from time to time you'll hear us talk about Mission Pro Wrestling. From time to time you'll hear us talk about West Coast Pro Wrestling. From time to time you'll hear us talk about all kinds of stuff. Hell, I was in Tijuana a couple weekends ago watching Lucha Libre and The Crash. So you'll hear us talk all about wrestling with an emphasis on the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. I see we've got a packed house already today, so I do want to say what's up to everyone. I see Heebs is in the house, Fee is in the house, Rodsville, Mr. Brian Rosa, and of course our dear friend Lamb. Thank you everyone for checking us out this week, and it's been quite an interesting week. If you're a fan of professional wrestling, I don't know that there's been a greater time to be alive. I don't know, maybe if you were watching wrestling in the early 80s when you had the Horsemen and the NWA with Jim Crockett Promotions was killing it, the WWF was killing it, and the AWA was killing it. But right now, I just feel like this is the time to be alive. If you're a fan of the NWA, if you're a fan of independent pro wrestling, hell, if you're a fan of the WWE or AEW or Impact, this is a great time to be alive for multiple reasons. But the short list of it is there's so much talent bouncing around from place to place. You're seeing it's crazy how you're seeing guys from Impact show up in AEW. You're seeing guys from New Japan Pro Wrestling show up in AEW and in Impact. You're seeing guys who were recently in the WWE showing up in Championship Wrestling from Atlanta. You're seeing the NWA form its own coalition of talents. So this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. And of course, the NWA is coming off the backs of their tapings down in excuse me, my light is messing with me here. Well, that's not any better. They were in St. Louis, Missouri. They were there at the Chase. They recorded multiple weeks of programming. Plus, they have a upcoming event happening soon in Middle Tennessee. Great things happening for the National Wrestling Alliance. For a few minutes, I want to focus on the United Wrestling Network and its programming. As you know, Championship Wrestling from Atlanta debuted over the weekend. You could see the video of the show now. If you don't live in Atlanta, you can see those matches available on the YouTube channel for Championship Wrestling from Memphis. There is a link in this account. You can check that out. And I think that's pretty awesome in and of itself. That program, for those of you who aren't aware, has been in the works even before Billy Corgan purchased the National Wrestling Alliance. Dave Marquez has been kind of recreating the territory system, and now it's not a true territory system in the way that the NWA used to be a territory system, but it is a series of promotions that all have television. That their champions will come in from different areas, very similar to the territory system, but not quite the same. And we saw it at the tapings. We saw the United Wrestling Network Tag Team Champions, the Bodega, show up and defend the tag titles. That I believe that'll be on next week's program. We have at the next taping, which is October the 7th in Atlanta, you'll see the television champion Levi Shapiro defending his title, and of course, a lot more going on there in Atlanta. And then they have the program that's weekly in Memphis. They've been doing that for about a year now, and that show is continually getting better. They're bringing in talents from outside. They're developing the talents from the inside. Really good stuff going on in Memphis. And then in California, here in Southern California, also in Northern California, with the West Coast Pro Wrestling. That's the promotion that's in San Francisco. They are promoting events in conjunction with the United Wrestling Network. And then also the events that are happening here in Southern California where I live, where last Thursday they did an anniversary show for Primetime Live that saw talents from AEW appear. The tag titles were defended. The TV title was defended. The Hollywood Heritage title was also defended. And it just was such a fun time for the United Wrestling Network. And they're doing it all again October 2nd. They're bringing back Primetime Live. It's back on pay-per-view. It'll be available on FITE TV. I'm not a big fan of FITE TV. It'll be on FITE TV, as well as you could attend live at the Commerce Casino if you are local. And then, of course, they're taping after the pay-per-view as well, or maybe they're taping before. I'm not entirely sure, but nevertheless, a lot of cool things are happening in the United Wrestling Network, and that includes them crowning, fingers crossed, crowning their world champion on Primetime Live. It's cool that they're going to be back to have that title match at Primetime Live. That's where the tournament started, so it's only fitting that we see either Michael Bennett or Chris Dickinson walk away as world champion on October the 2nd, God willing. I'm not making any promise. I flew all the way out to Atlanta to see that match, and it didn't happen, so I'm not going to hold my breath. And Rosville brings up a good point. I'm still learning how to do this, guys, so bear with me. Rosville brings up a good point. He's interested in seeing Bulletproof Wrestling and Bulletproof is a guy who is a mixed martial arts fighter. He's actually done a lot of training and stuff with Thunder Rosa. He helped her with some of her submission techniques. He's also in Hollywood. He's kind of mentoring Jordan Clearwater in the ring. So it'll be very interesting to see what Bulletproof brings to the ring. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm just reading some of your guys' comments, and I want to say, Fiona, I'm doing pretty good. been a busy day, but I'm doing good. Excited for tonight's wrestling. Excited to see more of what the NWA has to offer. We'll change gears. We'll start talking about the National Wrestling Alliance here. Dodie brings up the fact that what a time to be NWA fans indeed. I mean, Dodie knows because Dodie and I go back to the NWA from a couple of years ago. See, the cool thing that I think a lot of people take for granted is how much content is available for NWA fans, right? Because when Dave Marquez brought the NWA to California, Inoki had previously owned the membership, and we had a few promotions associated with the NWA. Nothing like what Dave Marquez brought to the table. And we got television tapings. We had big name talents. And again, he's been producing television for like almost 20 years now here in Southern California. And that was part of the NWA. But outside of what Dave Marquez was doing, there wasn't a whole lot of content for you to digest. So, I mean, if you were searching, you might find NWA Wildside or later NWA Anarchy. They were on America One, which at one point was available online as a digital channel, which, I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, so it wasn't great quality, but you could find the content. And then that was kind of it. So occasionally a wrestler or promoter would put their matches up on YouTube. YouTube, and again, 20 years ago, was in its infancy. So all this content that was out there that was being created wasn't really being seen. The titles were no longer defended on Impact after 2007. So it was hard to kind of stay up with the NWA, but they're doing it now, right? They're doing it. They're making it so that we could see the content again for the NWA, and I think it's pretty cool that's happening. Reading more of your comments, Rosville says Dickinson, Killa Hills. That's right. I'm looking forward to Dickinson. I can't wait to see him. He says, shake my head. Remember when Davey Boy Smith signed with the WWE? He was in that United title tourney. Yeah, and God, I wish he was still around. I haven't seen him show up yet in the WWE, so we'll see. Wrestling with MMA says, fingers crossed at some point FITE fixes their app so that I don't have to go to a website to watch anything in their catalog. I mean, isn't that the truth? There's an audience base who's just thirsty for the content that they're offering, and we can't even get it, some of us. FITE is a pain. Brian Rosa says NXT and AEW Dark tonight. Oh, I forgot to push the button. Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too, right? So we're talking about options. Like, look, 20 years ago, you had wrestling Monday nights and you had wrestling Thursday nights. And if you're lucky, you could watch like some of your indies that had TV, or 20 years ago, I guess you still had ECW too. So you had options, but they were a lot more limited. Tonight, I mean, here's a perfect example. You can watch NXT, you can watch AEW Dark, and if you watch the NWA, I mean, that's like 5 hours of television, 5 hours of wrestling, and that's just on one night. That's not to mention 3 hours on Monday, another 2 hours on Wednesday, and then Thursday's loaded with wrestling. I mean, it just doesn't ever stop. It's fun to be a fan of wrestling right now. Willie's in the house. What's up, Willie? Let's see. Ross says, I hope the old NWA license holders work with the current ownership to package the NWA Wonder Years. Rosville, that is a fruitless dream. I can't say most. A lot of the NWA promoters of yesteryear didn't even keep the footage. I know one promoter, literally, they don't actually have the footage. They let the footage stay with the people who produce the content, which, I mean, they made the matches available on YouTube and stuff, but still, it's not their content. It's somebody else's. I think that's just crazy if you ask me. But anyway, so tonight's going to be a fun night. Of course, Willie Bowen. Willie cracks me up, man, because he is on it when it comes to Tyrus. Not a big fan of Tyrus at all. Don't forget to watch Tyrus and the hot dog eating contest. Tonight's episode of Power Surge, it's been about 2 months since we've had an episode of Power Surge. So I'm kind of excited to see how it's going to be a little bit different. On tonight's episode, we have a lot of wrestling. It's kind of unusual because Power Surge has traditionally been more of a recap show, but tonight, I mean, we have 3 matches scheduled. The first of which is we're supposed to have Colby Corino, the hero of the championship series. He's supposed to be taking on Marshe Rockette. Now, that's a huge size and strength difference. And this will be very telling of what they think about Colby Corino going forward. If he gets a victory over Marshe Rockette, a guy who's much bigger, much stronger, and they're probably about the same speed, it really is going to indicate that they have a lot of aspirations with Colby Corino carrying that Corino last name. The next match we're going to have is Mims taking on Black Jeeze. Now, Jeeze has been not really treated as much of a threat when it comes to pro wrestling. He's been the mouthpiece at times for Jordan Clearwater. He's part of kind of like that entourage of Idol Sports Management, Tyrus, and all that stuff. But Mims has just been out there doing what Mims does, and that's just taking care of business, going out there, putting on matches, getting the fans to support him, getting the people behind him. And the thing that I really genuinely appreciate about Mims is he seems to be enjoying himself out there. This is a guy who's been there since day one. Like he was on the very first episode of Power, him and a unnamed tag team partner taking on, oh God, what are their names? Someone can help me out. The Dawsons. I got there. The Dawsons. NWA Gold just joined us, and I want to say something that our pal NWA Gold is doing for this channel, for this community, and I'm so appreciative, and I hope you guys are too. Our boy NWA Gold is offering one of his bootleg replica championship belts as a prize when we hit subscriber 1,000. If you guys haven't been paying attention, we've been really pushing the subscription on this channel, on the YouTube channel. Of course, we appreciate everyone who supported us over the last few years, but we've really been pushing to try to grow this community, to grow this channel, to reach a greater percentage of fans. I mean, This Is Pro Wrestling does a great job talking about wrestling. They do a great job on the NWA podcast after the post show. But we offer something different. We offer an alternative to what that programming is. We offer sometimes a critical opinion of the National Wrestling Alliance, sometimes a critical opinion of the United Wrestling Network. And what we do is we just tell it like it is. We have nobody to answer to. We don't have to censor ourselves in any way. It's a completely uncensored podcast, whether it be myself, Devin DKM, or the former World Junior Heavyweight Championship Kevin Frazier. We just speak how it is. We don't have anything to gain or lose by just telling exactly what we think. So we've been really trying to grow this channel. Of course, you've seen lately we've added some wrestling matches, matches from the Crash, matches from United Wrestling Network. In fact, there'll be another match going up probably later this week with the Bodega defending their tag titles against Midnight Heat from the untelevised Primetime Live spectacular from last week. So we've been really pushing and plugging away this channel, and NWA Gold, to kind of match our efforts. He's a good pal. He's part of this Alliance blog family. Has offered up one of his replica title belts to somebody, and I'm sure there'll be some sort of contest, some sort of pull a name out of a hat or something when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys would like to be a part of that, there'll be some prizes, not just the title belt, but some t-shirts, some other stuff. We'll give away some Alliance blog merch, but some other merch from other wrestlers as well, including, and don't forget, everybody's favorite former world's heavyweight champion, this guy. He'll be up for grabs too. So we're doing this again because we want to encourage growth for this channel, but we also want to encourage growth for this community. Again, we're trying to support multiple fan bases here, not just the NWA, not just United Wrestling Network, but the promotions that are associated with, affiliated with, and we're trying to bring a lot more recognition to those promotions and to some of those talents who might not have gotten that same spotlight as those who appear on, AEW or some of the nationally syndicated programs. So anyways, I want to say thank you again to our good pal, NWA Gold, for making that happen. Of course, we've got a long road to 1,000. We're at, we currently sit, oops, did not mean to put that up. We currently sit at, sorry for the distraction, guys. I just got, I'm easily distraction. We're currently at 597 subscribers. So that's good. That's great. And that number is huge. And that's a huge leap for us over the last few months. Of course, we'd like to get that number higher and higher and higher. Willie says he wants to see the Bodega versus the current NWA World Tag Team Champions. And that match would be outstanding. Being able to testify that I did see the World Tag Team Champions in Mexico. I'm talking about Mecha Wolf 450 and BCA 666 defend the, well, they didn't defend, but they wrestled in Mexico, showcasing those titles. Those guys are on another level right now. I know that Mecha Wolf has inspirations to kind of emulate the Macho Man Randy Savage. He said it himself. And when you kind of watch him in the ring, he does. I mean, he's got power and he's got speed. And he is kind of like watching Macho Man Randy Savage. I would love to see either version of the Bodega versus the NWA World Tag Team Champions. And then Rosville says, how about the Bodega versus the Tate Twins? And that another great match. The Tate Twins were part of the Championship Wrestling from Atlanta television taping, and they were part of what they called the Ohio Valley Wrestling Showcase, OVW. The Tate Twins would be more than welcome to have a match with the Bodega. It would be great. And that's the thing with the United Wrestling Network, and we'll get back to the NWA in just a moment. United Wrestling Network has a bunch of good tag teams. I mean, they recently brought back Peter Avalon teaming with Ray Rosas, although I believe that's only going to be Primetime Live exclusive because as far as I know, Peter Avalon's still under contract at AEW, which I think prevents him from appearing on the actual television program. But there's other good tag teams in the NWA. Midnight Heat, of course. We just saw the return of Reno Scum over the past weekend. That match with them and PP Ray is available on this channel right now. I definitely recommend checking it out. It's a lot of fun. And then, the tag team champions, the Bodega, some pretty serious, solid tag teams. What I like what Doty is saying, and I'm all aboard on this one too. Oops, that was supposed to be Doty. We want a Haas fight between Trevor Murdoch and Papa Esco. Papa Esco threw out the challenge when Trevor Murdoch was the national champion, and I'm pretty sure that Papa Esco, King Fat Boy, would love to step in the ring with the world's heavyweight champion. I don't know if that match is going to happen, but I would pay to see it. That would perk my interest right up. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And then Lamb, to help me out with some of the tag teams, he brought up the Hogsmen, Midnight Heat, PP Ray, the Bodega, and more coming. They have the United Wrestling Network Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has a direct line to Millennium Pro Wrestling out here in Southern California, which is like a training ground for new talents. And hopefully we'll see more of these new talents in the United Wrestling Network. Willie brings up a good question. Where's Watts? I don't know, to be perfectly honest. I know he took some time away from the ring, and I don't know if that's because of COVID or what happened, but I know he is returning to the ring very, very soon. I just don't think I think maybe he and the United Wrestling Network might have parted ways. I haven't heard anything negative. I haven't heard anything positive, so I don't really know what the status of their relationship is, but I miss Watts. I consider Watts a friend, but I also love watching him in the ring. So we'll see. Lamb says, here's the thing. If the NWA wants to book the Bodega, they would do it, but they don't want to relay too much of Marquez's boys. You all know that Papo and Danny are Marquez guys 100%. And that's the thing. Like, if they wanted Danny Limelight, they could get him. Marquez never prevented anybody from his roster working for the NWA, and we've seen that with Jordan Clearwater. We've seen that with Slice Boogie. Those guys were Hollywood regulars, Hollywood originals. Really, that's where they got their break. And Marquez never prevented them from working with the NWA. Nor would I think that would be a problem for him either. All right, let me get a drink here real quick. The next match we have up for tonight. Oh, I guess Camille is going to have an interview with Joe Galli, and that should be fun. The chemistry that Galli and Camille tend to have on camera, it's palatable. Sometimes it's a little uncomfortable, but mostly it's fun. Galli's always been very protective of Camille. He's always been very kind to Camille, whether Strictly Business has been heel or face. He's always been a Camille fan, so it'll be fun to see how that plays out. And then we're going to have words with Trevor Murdoch, more talking with Trevor Murdoch. And I don't know, guys. My problem when Nick Aldis was our world's heavyweight champion is that we heard a lot from Nick Aldis, but we didn't see a lot from Nick Aldis. And I feel like this is happening again. I don't need to have a segment with Trevor Murdoch every other week unless it's building up to a match. If he's having a one-on-one stare down with our boy Jax Dane, then if it's leading to something, I'm all for it. But these promos are not my favorite. This just handed to me. My wife just handed me a note and said Watts was arrested for multiple attempted murder charges because of his murder bomb. She thought it was funny. Anyways, getting back to Watts real quick. Yes, he still works indies in Southern California, but there hasn't been a lot of pro wrestling up until just the last few weeks. Wrestling is seemingly returning here to Southern California, so hopefully we'll see more of Watts in action, but I don't know that we'll see Watts return to United Wrestling Network anytime soon, and it's a shame because I really, really like him. Our boy the mayor just said, Billy Corgan already stole enough of Dave Marquez's boys, and the things he got was, I didn't read all of that. Yeah, again, to put it mildly, the NWA didn't need Dave Marquez. And to be quite honestly, David Marquez doesn't need the NWA. Now, I think in a perfect world, yes, they would come to some sort of conclusion that they could work together. I mean, what Dave Marquez is doing is basically setting up a United Wrestling Network in some major towns and being able to have a world champion go from town to town. I mean, he's essentially creating work for the talents. Not that I'm going to try to toot my own horn here, but I got to represent Southern California's premier website, SoCal Uncensored, over last weekend on Thursday night. And I went to the Primetime Live non-televised event in a capacity that I was handing out the promotion of the year of 2020 to the United Wrestling Network for their Primetime Live pay-per-views. I also got to hand out Wrestler of the Year to Danny Limelight, who was not only Wrestler of the Year, but the most outstanding wrestler of 2020 for the SoCal Uncensored website. Now, it's kind of funny because traditionally, that website has not been very kind to Dave Marquez, and the feeling has kind of been mutual. But what Marquez has brought to the table over the years has been very beneficial. And if there was a way that they could work together, I mean, could you imagine if there was a circuit of NWA United Wrestling Network with talents appearing in Memphis, in Hollywood, in Atlanta, 2 times in Atlanta, in St. Louis, Missouri at the Chase, and then having regional pay-per-views all across the country? I mean, that would be outstanding. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. The NWA is, the NWA is doing the damn thing, right? They just sold out the Chase. They've got a lot of people interested in this next pay-per-view or show or whatever they're calling it that's happening in October in Tennessee. The United Wrestling Network, they're back in Atlanta next month. They're back in taping for the Primetime Live in just a few weeks. I mean, things are happening for both promotions, and it just is what it is. Willie Bowen says Tim Storm versus Trevor Murdoch. I'm not against that either. And it's okay. Like, we can have a face wrestling against a face. We can have a good guy versus a good guy. I don't think any of us will get confused on that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I don't know that Jordan Grace is a free agent or even able to get to the NWA, but yeah, I think Camille versus Jordan Grace would be a Haas match on the ladies' side, and that's not something that you get to talk a lot about because, I mean, there are very few women who are as pumped as Camille or Jordan Grace. Certified Hustler said he dropped a video about me. All right, bro. I don't know what that means. Certified Hustler also getting into that United Wrestling Network is a beast, and I can't wait for the NWA to be a part of it. And Hustler, that's just not going to happen, bro. Just not enough love between the two parties for that to happen. October 24th, by any means necessary. I think that's going to be a great event because, again, Jack Stane versus Crimson, I think, is going to be awesome. In a cage, Jack Stane by far is one of the best wrestlers the NWA has, and I'm excited to see how they continue to push him forward, as we talked about here on this podcast a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, on the Alliance guys, Jack Stane has had more character development in the last 3 episodes of Power than he did in the first, 3 seasons. So it's going to be fun to see what's next for him and how that maturation process goes. And if it leads to a showdown with him and Trevor Murdoch, because hopefully it does. And then Lamb says we might see Cesar Bononi. Sorry, I'm not an AEW fan. I don't watch the program, so I didn't know how to even pronounce our friend's name, Cesar. But I know he did a great job in Hollywood. He took on Beef Candy, and the crowd went nuts for him. And this guy, like, when you talk about typically what a pro wrestler looks like, it's that dude. Big, muscular, just amazing. Surprised he hasn't been looked at by the WWE. And then Doty says the same thing. Jack Stane has looked greatly at the moment. I mean, I did not want to see the War Kings break up. I'll be the first one to admit it. I wanted the War Kings to be tag team champions. I still want the War Kings to be tag team champions. I don't know if it's possible at this point because of the tag team is broken down, but Jack Stane has just such a great talent. And I'm not taking anything away from Crimson. Crimson's a fine athlete. Jack Stane is on another level. And the fact that he has been world's heavyweight champion, the fact that he's held the North American title, the national title, the tag titles, the fact that he defended those tag titles in Japan, the fact that he was a regular when he was a tag team wrestler with Rob Conway, that they were regularly featured in New Japan from like 2014 to 2015. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather. I apologize. He's phenomenal. He took the title off of Hiroshi Tenzin. He took the North American title off of Tim Storm. He's a great wrestler. He's a great athlete, and he's a great dude. So I wish him nothing but success. I would like to see more and more of him. And then Lamb and both Wrestling with MMA pointed out that Bonani, am I saying that right? Bonani was in NXT but got released. That's why he's in AEW. That's unbelievable to me, but I get it. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Just a little under the weather. Been traveling a lot. It turns out that in the last 30 days, In the last 30 days, I've been to 4 wrestling shows, 2 of which were in the state of California. One of them was 5 minutes from my house. One of them was 2 hours away. Then I went to Tijuana to see a show, and that was about a 2.5-hour drive. And then I was in Atlanta to see a show, and that was like that was a fiasco. So I'm a little worn down. So I'm looking forward to this weekend of not having any wrestling. In fact, if I wanted to go to wrestling, I could, but I'm looking forward to having a break. Bononi. Cesar Bononi. Cesar Bononi. Cesar Bononi. Willie Bowen says, whatever happened to Matt Riviere? Matt Riviere unceremoniously retired. I know he was still putting on events with CWA, Championship Wrestling Alabama. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I know for a fact he retired. And it would be fun to see Matt Riviere back in the NWA. But again, the NWA is certainly on its own course. And we start evaluating the NWA talent. Very few guys are under 6'4". Very few guys are under 240 pounds, 230 pounds. They certainly have a motif that they're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with that. This is Billy Corgan's endeavor into pro wrestling, and he's going to produce a wrestling show that he's proud of and that he's happy with. So when you see the booking decisions that you were just like, wow, what in the world were they thinking? Well, that's Billy's idea. And when you see things like Trevor Murdoch winning the World's Heavyweight Championship in St. Louis from Nick Aldis with Ric Flair to congratulate him, again, that is all Billy Corgan. So all the good, all the bad, you just have to recognize that this is it's all Billy. Lamb says that he thinks that Bo No Knee teamed up with Arturo Ruas for a few times. I don't even know who Arturo Ruas is. I guess I need to watch more wrestling than just the NWA and the United Wrestling Network. And then the mayor says he was with Lawler in Memphis. That's right. I mean, he wanted to be Lawler. He being Matt Riviere. So the other match we didn't talk about yet is the triple threat match between Tottie Lynn Ramsey, Thunder Kitty, and why am I drawing a blank on the other one? Skye Blue. How can I forget about Skye Blue? She's great. That's going to be a lot of fun. Tottie Lynn Ramsey has not been very successful in her run so far post pay-per-view. They're still these matches are all taking place in St. Louis, so I'm sure she's still appreciating that crowd reaction that she's getting. And I'm sure the NWA does too. Hopefully that translates to the next thing that she does. Let's see. Dodie says he misses Matt Riviere. He had to get more cash. He could be the next Marquez or next Ring of Honor. I definitely love if he joined Billy's team. Matt Riviere, I think he was also part of I know he was part of that stable, like the old school what were they called? I think they were the NWA Elite, maybe. I'm not sure. But they had that wrestling promotion that was based in the South. And that brought out guys like it brought out Tim Storm. It brought out Greg Anthony, who was a former NWA national champion. It gave us Barrett Brown, who used to wrestle under the mask as Americanas. I think that was his name. The Empire. Thank you, Dodie. The Empire. But they also had a wrestling promotion too, and it was pretty cool. But it was very regional. It kind of reminded me a lot of like NWA Smoky Mountain at the time. Certified Hustler says, so does United Wrestling Network not help to NWA with their production side of things anymore? There has been a strict strategic divorce between the United Wrestling Network and the National Wrestling Alliance. There's no more affiliation at all. If an talent from the National Wrestling Alliance appears on a program from the United Wrestling Network, it is just one talent working a show. There is no like anything connected anymore. Will that change in the future? I mean, honestly, probably not. You know, aside from ego, aside from money, aside from all that stuff, it's just there's not really a need for the NWA to work with the United Wrestling Network, and there's not really a need for the United Wrestling Network to work with the NWA. Dave Marquez is getting ready to crown his own world champion, and they've got markets in Atlanta, they've got markets in California, they got markets in Memphis, and then they have television in a whole slew of other cities like San Francisco, Lake Charles, Tampa, Florida, Arizona, I guess like Phoenix, the Phoenix market. So they don't really need each other. Currently, the National Wrestling Alliance has a quarterly pay-per-view system, and they have weekly television available on FITE TV for $4.99 a month, and they have programming available on YouTube as well. So I don't really think you'll see them working together anytime soon. Brian says, "Let's do it." Hey, Brian, you know more than anybody else how that front office works. What I would like to see is some of the talents from Mission Pro make their way to the United Wrestling Network. You know, there is a burgeoning women's division. They were ready to start a women's title right before the pandemic hit. So who knows? Maybe down the road we'll see some more Mission Pro talents make their way to Hollywood or Atlanta or even Memphis. I mean, the fact of the matter is that Memphis isn't using Mission Pro talent is just stupid to me, because Texas to Memphis isn't a very far travel, and there's so much good talent associated with Mission Pro. I think that would make a lot of sense. Rosville says Oregon is coming soon. Are you talking about for the NWA? Or are you talking about the United Wrestling Network? Either way, it'd be fun. Brian, I will. The next time I talk to David, which I'm sure will be within the next week or two, I will, because I do believe that there's the fact of the matter is that you guys have been able to pull together some great women's talent out there in Texas. And I know the NWA's benefited from some of those names. I know AEW's benefited from some of those names. I definitely think the United Wrestling Network could benefit from some of those names. So with that being said, what do you guys think of the show that's coming up here for the NWA in Tennessee? I know that Certified Hustler mentioned it. What is it? I'm trying to find it. I forgot what it was called. Sorry, I got distracted there. Somebody was messaging me. The event that's coming up soon for the NWA, I think, is going to be pretty cool out in Tennessee. I will not be there. I know a lot of people have asked, "Hey, Jake, how are you going to be out at the next show for the NWA?" And the fact of the matter is, guys, I'm not going to be at another NWA event and probably until 2022, unless somehow they're within, a 3 or 4 mile driving radius. I really do like the NWA program. It's kind of funny, when I was at Center Stage in Atlanta, Dave Marquez introduced me to the audience and then said, he's an NWA fan. It's like, yes, Dave, I still am an NWA fan. But I really think that both promotions, I think, are on the right ticket. I think, you see what United Wrestling Network's doing. They are getting to where they want to be, which is a syndicated territory-like system with television in the United States and multiple markets. And then you've got the NWA, who's doing what they want to do: quarterly pay-per-views, FITE TV programming, and who knows, maybe there will be a program in addition to what they're doing later down the road. They definitely have the talent for it. They've got the it's not a lack of bodies anymore. They have the talent. We'll just have to see if that's going to happen. So let's see. Certified Hustler doesn't United Wrestling Network the NWA to not be a monopoly, just like the NWA needs Vern Gagne. No, Certified Hustler, they don't need each other at all. In terms of wrestling monopolies, that's not a thing anymore. If there was a monopoly, it would have started. I mean, we could have talked about WWE being a monopoly a couple of years ago, but now with the advent of AEW, the fact that New Japan Pro Wrestling has started to get a stronghold here in the United States, the competition is flourishing. I mean, I can name at least 5 wrestling promotions that currently have something close to national TV. So, of course, the AEW, the WWE, Impact, MLW, United Wrestling Network. I mean, that's 5 promotions right there. I didn't even bring up Ring of Honor, and they have television all across the United States. I didn't bring up other wrestling promotions that have television. I mean, there is no more monopoly. There is, back in the day when the NWA was a monopoly, I mean, it legitimately was. The promoters would say, hey, if you go work for that outlaw promotion, you can't work with us. And they would dictate to the talent where they could and could not work. And again, nobody was under contract. I mean, some of them were, but not like in the way that we think of being under contract to WWE today. They would just say, you can't work there. You can't promote our title. And the promotions would take talent away from the outlaw promotions, making it very difficult. That's why the whole FBI was noted and called in to examine the NWA, because they were a legitimate monopoly. Lamb asks, where's the next pay-per-view? Kentucky, right? No, it's in Tennessee. It's going to be part of Tried and True's show. I for the life of me, I can't remember the name. But the thing about it is, the NWA did not go into St. Louis promoting towards this show. At least I don't think they did. Now, I've heard from other people that they might have known that this was going to be a reality. And if it is, that's great. But as far as I know, the storytelling is set for the next pay-per-view, which should be in December. But we'll see how that all plays out. Brian Rosa says NWA Power episodes 1 through 7 were some of the best stuff ever after that. After that, no comment. I get you, Brian. I was there for the first, I guess the first 4 episodes, and it was done very well. The production was done very well. I really did like where they were going then. I feel like the NWA has sputtered to get back to where they were. I think with the loss of Thunder Rosa, that kind of hurts it, but I do feel like they're bringing in some good talent too. We're seeing more out of Genocide. We're seeing more out of Lady Frost. They've got Smiling Kylie. So I feel like the women's division is starting to grow. I think it was too early to introduce tag team titles, but they'll figure that out. The national title has been booked terribly, like just awful. The last person that did that title justice was really like Colt Cabana, because I guess you could say that Aaron Stevens did too. Aaron Stevens did right by the title, but Trevor Murdoch won it and only had one defense outside of the NWA, and then defended it one time against Chris Masters. Then the second time, I mean, the whole story, we don't need to go into it here. It wasn't done very well. And then you have the television title, which has probably been the highlight of the show for me. I really feel like the TV title was just chef's kiss, right? Because you had the Pope, who was trying to get to that best of 7. And even though I don't care for Tyrus, they made that title seem important every week, because you had Tyrus wanting to go after it. You had weekly matches to create a number 1 contender for that title. And all the while, the Pope was just trying to get closer to that showdown with Nick Aldis. So I really think that was pretty cool. Certified Hustler said, is Billy Corgan moving the headquarters to St. Louis? I don't think so. If anything, I think if they were going to move the show anywhere, I think it would be to Nashville. I think that would be closer for some of the talent. I don't think St. Louis is where they're going to go. Our girl Fiona, she's going to be at Hard Times. That's awesome, Fee. I'm very happy for you. I know this has been a trying time for you. If for you guys who don't know, Fee's a part of our hashtag NWA family. She's in Scotland, and so she missed out on the 73rd anniversary show because she couldn't fly out there. But I'm happy for you that you're going to be out there. Let's see. Roswell says the TV title, in my opinion, has to compete with the Ring of Honor's Pure Division. I really feel like the NWA did right by the TV title, like more so than any other championship. I get why we don't see more World Championship matches on Power. I get that, and I'm okay with that. But like the short of tag team titles, not seeing the national title defended, not really seeing the women's championship defended too often, but the TV title was almost, if not monthly, almost every other week. And I think that's really important because that title has been kind of like a work rate championship for the NWA. So if you're going to highlight anybody, it should be that championship. And again, that's why I think that it would have been a good idea for the NWA to bring a secondary show, maybe a weekly show from the Chase, where they could feature a national championship title match more regularly. They could have time to tell these stories and then have title matches, in two different avenues. I just think it'd be better. Let's see. Imagine if Corgan buys the old TNA Impact office in Nashville. I believe I had heard at one point that that Impact was going to move out of Nashville, and the rumored destination was supposed to be Las Vegas. And if that happens, I would not be surprised at all to see the NWA move into the Skyline Studios where Impact is currently taped, because initially that's where they were going to tape the show anyways. It just so happened that they didn't want to compete with Impact. They didn't want to be in the same building. And I think, look, if you're Impact, if I'm Impact, I'd be promoting events in Canada. Screw this United States stuff. I'd be in Canada because that's a market that's so underserved when it comes to pro wrestling. But the NWA, whether it be Nashville, whether it be Atlanta, even if it's St. Louis, I mean, there's so many options for them to film TV. I wouldn't be surprised if they bumped around from more than just Atlanta. But also, I feel like that Georgia Public Broadcasting Studio is a great home for them. Doty says St. Louis won't be the new NWA headquarters in the near future, but I hope they can make the Chase be a yearly annual stop like they planned before. That would be cool, man. I mean, the Chase looked so good for pay-per-view, and I'm not a huge fan of the television side of it, but for the pay-per-view looked amazing. And I think that there's, with the history there, I wish it was more than just a yearly thing. I wish it was a regular thing. I kind of wish they figured out a way to do weekly television there. So yeah, that's all I can say about that. Willie says, will there any NWA Power pay-per-views events on the West Coast, especially Southern California and Hawaii? Willie, I don't know that the NWA cares to run in California. This is kind of a saturated market for pro wrestling. Locally, we have Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, which is the tops when it comes to independent pro wrestling. There's nobody more highly regarded than Pro Wrestling Guerrilla in the state of California. And then also you've got like promotions like Game Changer Wrestling coming here, Defy Wrestling coming to Southern California. It's a lot. And on top of that, then this is also the home of New Japan Strong that do their weekly TV tapings here. You've got Championship Wrestling from Hollywood taping here, Primetime Live pay-per-views here. And then there's like a whole flurry of other wrestling promotions we haven't even talked about. Millennium Pro Wrestling, Level Up Pro Wrestling, Empire Wrestling Federation, West Coast Wrestling Company. There's so many different smaller independent wrestling promotions here in Southern California. I could go on for days. So, and then the whole Raising the Bar promotion out here in Southern California. It seems like there's just too much. And I don't feel like the NWA would be respected the way that they are in St. Louis, the way that they are in Atlanta, the way that they were in Nashville, and the way that they were in Charlotte. And I think that's important, that you want to honor the brand. And bringing it to California, I don't think it's going to get the respect that it deserves, just because. Oh, yeah, PCW. Brian brought up PCW. Yes, PCW is still around, but no. AWS, I feel like they might be done. Yeah, they haven't promoted any events, and I don't want to get too much into it, but there was some connections to the Speaking Out movement too. Lamb says that Las Vegas is a great area for scouting talents. It's no secret. Not only that, but I mean, think about Las Vegas is a destination city, right? If you're doing shows in Las Vegas on a quarterly schedule, like people come to Vegas for vacations, and it's a tourist attraction, maybe the top tourist city in the United States. And having a wrestling show that can kind of appeal to a mass gathering of people. I mean, I know most people don't go to Las Vegas to watch wrestling, but that doesn't mean that they can't. And in the past, it's been, a mecca for pro wrestling, whether it be Glow Wrestling, whether the AWA, the old Showboat, or if we're even talking about Future Stars of Wrestling that still operate in Vegas. I think it would be a good spot for pro wrestling. Ring of Honor used to go there a lot too. Hebe says, what does PP-Ray stand for? I'm glad you asked. PP-Ray is an combination of names between Pretty Peter Avalon and Ray Rosas. Peter Avalon, similar to me, kind of has that PPA attitude, that PMA attitude, that positive mental attitude. Always look for the best in life. Always look at the silver lining, if you will. And it's just an amalgamation of that name, the nickname of PP Ray. And as Lamb kind of explained it, yeah, Pretty Peter Avalon, Ray Rosas, PP Ray. Rosville says, the NWA and the Central States have history. They will work that area. Historically, the NWA hasn't been heavy on the West Coast. I mean, we had the Grand Olympic. We had the NWA at the Olympic Auditorium. NWA Hollywood back, not Marquez's NWA Hollywood, but the NWA Hollywood that was like George Tolos and Fred Blassie and Roddy Piper and Mil Mascaras and Chavo Guerrero Sr. I mean, we did have our NWA territory out here, and it was a big deal. But, I mean, that kind of went by the wayside in the early 80s. Dodie says, I'm a history buff, so I wish the NWA to open market in Kansas City, Iowa, Detroit, Minnesota, Nebraska. I mean, damn, Dodie, you want it all, baby. That's okay. That's okay. And, yeah, so that would be fun. Lamb did a good job of letting us know that we've got 7 minutes to showtime for NWA Power Surge. If you enjoy this program, hey, I really appreciate you guys being here. Give us a thumbs up or a follow. If you're watching us on Twitch TV, you don't have to subscribe, but follow the channel so you can see what else we're going to come up with. If you're on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. If you really enjoy this podcast and you want to support it financially, you can do so by picking up a hat like this or t-shirts that have a similar logo to this on our shop zone, and that's just go to the comments section here, the description in the video. You'll see a link to not only our podcast, but also to our merch store. And of course, we post news and information for the NWA and the United Wrestling Network at alliance-wrestling.com. I'm currently working on an article about the United Wrestling Network and how it's 2022 seems to be like the year that it's really going to blow up, considering the markets that they're in and where they're planning to go. I hope you'll take a look at that. If you want to follow us up on social media, I would greatly appreciate that too. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're also on TikTok. We're on Tumblr. You can check all that out at the Alliance blog. And as our friend with Wrestling with MMA says, thank you one and all for joining us. Enjoy your ham sandwich, and we'll see you guys at the matches. Good night now.